Hello everyone, it's me Calypso again with Bubbles, and today we're going to be doing a tutorial on how to make a fishing minigame by mainly just using scripts. So, let me show y'all what can go on here. So we have a little bubble here. This would be like an indication as to, oh, you can fish here. So we're going to interact with it. Now, this is, once again, this is gray text, so it's just me kind of showing you what's going on. In your game, or in other words, you wouldn't show this information. This is just for testing purposes. So, I'll explain these later, but the first number is catch time, second number is total time. I'll explain what that means later. So press up on the keyboard when you see the exclamation point appear above your head. Here we go. And then we get a fish, a small choke. Cool. And we can always fish again and again and again. But let me show you all now how you would do this. Alright, so this is the first time where I'm going to actually put all this information into a common event. So all that is going on in this event right here is just calling the common event fishing. So let me pull up the database, and let's go through what we're doing here. So first off, for this code, you're going to want to establish 5 variables. For the minigame itself, you only really need like 3. The other 2 are for like display reasons. Information that you can give to the player. But for the minigame itself, you really only need 3 variables. One that I'm going to call fish count timer, one that's fish catch time, and one that is fish total time. Let us go back. So the first thing you're going to want to do is whenever you call fishing, you want to set the fish count timer equal to 0. And then, let me pull up the code, show y'all what's going on here. So, I was just realized that I did the same thing here. This is doing the exact same thing that's going on up there. It's just saying variable 5, which is the timer, to 0. So technically I could just get rid of that one up there. This is a double call. Second one here is game variables.set value of variable 7, which remember, variable 7 is the total time. And then we're going to call math.randomInt, which is going to basically just do like RNG, giving us a number between, in this case, as a reminder, how math.randomInt works is that it gives you a number starting from 0 to that number you're calling minus 1. So if you say math.randomInt 5, it's going to generate a number between 0 and 4. So in this case, I want it to be, well, basically I want it to be from 0 to like 120, so I'm going to put 121 so we can get that. And then we're going to add 120 seconds to whatever number it generates here, and I'll be setting that to game variable 7. What this is doing is it's determining the total amount of wait time the player has before they lose the fish. And I'm doing this plus 120 because I want to basically make it to where by default you have to wait at least 2 seconds before the fish is possible to catch. Or sorry, the extended timer. Because if we don't want to make it 0, because if there's a chance that it can give us 0, then the player would have no time to catch the fish, and that wouldn't be fair. So I'm going to give a buffer of at least 120 frames, which is 2 seconds. As a reminder, there are 60 frames in a second. So if you do 120, that's 2 seconds. If it's 60, it's 1 second. 180 is 3 seconds, etc., etc. Now, next I'm going to make this temp variable here called fish RNG. It's going to be another math.randomInt of 100 plus 1. The reason why we're doing it this way as opposed to this way is that this one is still making it to where we can get 0. But this one, I want it to be, I want the numbers to be between 1 and 100, not including 0, so that's why we add the plus 1. RandomInt is going to give us 0 to 99, so we say plus 1, so that whatever it gives us, it's going to be between 1 and 100. The purpose of this one is we have this information here, this switch case. All that this switch case is doing is that it's going to take into account of what number of fish RNG generated, and if it is less than or equal to 70, then we're going to get a small fish. And if it's less than or equal to 90, we get a medium fish. And then anything else will give us by default a large fish. What we're doing here is that we need to establish that second variable, which is the fish catch timer. The fish catch timer is basically telling us when the fish bites the hook and when you can actually pull it up. And to establish this number, I am basically saying that if it's a small fish, then we're going to take the total catch time, which is variable 7, and then we're going to subtract 90 frames from that number. Basically saying that you have 1.5 seconds to catch a small fish. If it's a medium fish, you have 1 second and 15 frames or 15 milliseconds to catch the medium fish, and then for a large fish, it's minus 45. So it's 45 frames, or half a second and some change. And obviously with these numbers, you can adjust them as you so please. If you want this large fish to be incredibly hard to catch or whatever, you can make it 30 frames, you can make this 60 frames, you can make this like 120 frames. It's up to you how you want to do it. But just as a reminder, make sure that, I said 120, probably don't do that one. If you do 120, make sure you extend this one to be higher, because once again, you don't want the number to be 0, because you want there to be at least some time some quiet time before the fish latches on. And then this last one right here, we're just saying variable of 1 equal to 6, 7, 8, which is correlating to the item. I made a small, medium, and fish item here. So it just correlates to this. We're going to give the player the item whenever they catch the fish. Going back to the code. And then we're going to call it, once it runs this and we know like the size and everything, then it's going to call the fish RNG code again, give us a new number. And then we're going to do this, which is basically just telling us what kind of fish. You don't technically need to do this part. This is just like, if you want to, or if you want to add a little bit more variety to your fishing minigame, you can. But yeah, this is just basically making it to where it's telling us what type of fish you're getting. So a bass, salmon, chub, halibut. You can obviously add more or less to this as you so please if you want to. And then the last call here is that we're basically taking game variable 8 and 9, which if you remember, game variable 8 is the fish size, 9 is the fish type. We're taking these two, and we are adding them together. Since they're two, oh my, what's it called? Strings. They're two strings, we're adding them together to make one string. Once again, don't have to do this, but if you want to, like, put them together, then you can. You just set game variable 8 equal to game variable 8 plus 9, and so it'll basically be like, oh, okay, so you want small bass, and it'll put that as just one single variable. And this is also, like, make sure you remember that if you're trying to add these things together, that you put a space here. The game will remember that there should be a space here. If there's no space here, then small and bass is going to be like one big word. If you want the separation, make sure you just put this little space here. Or, you know, you could also just like, if you could do that and then add a space here. Either or, just make sure it's consistent. Make sure it's uniform, whichever you do. And so that's the code to get the fish. And then we go here, and once again, this is just what you saw before. Was just telling the player the catch time, or, well, it's telling you, the developer. Unless you want the player to see this, you can, but normally you wouldn't show this to the player. Catch time, total time. And then this is just here to give a description as to, like, what the player should do. And then we have a loop here. The important thing here is that, yeah, you're going to have a loop. And you're going to say, wait 1 frame, because you want the code to pause each frame before it runs again to kind of show a passing of time and actually count the frames. And then this, the fish count timer, which is at 0, is going to go up by 1 each frame that the loop goes through. The first thing we're going to want to put here is to say if the fish count timer, the thing that's counting the frames, is equal to fish catch time, which is the moment that the player can catch the fish, then we want to play a sound effect and then show the exclamation point above the player's head to indicate to the player that, hey, you caught something. And then down here, we are going to do a first if statement check of if button up is pressed, which is on the 4th pace of the conditional branch. Once again, you can make this be whatever you want. I just said up because I just thought of like the motion of a person pulling up on the fishing rod, so that's why I'm making it up. You can make it whatever you want here. And there's even like a script call that you can use to make it any key if you want, but you know, that's up to you. I just do up. So the first thing you're going to do is that if you press up, then it's going to check and see, let's check and see if the player is pulling up too early. So we just say if the fish count timer is greater than or equal to fish catch time, greater than or equal to, then in this case, this is where you would catch the fish. But if it's not, then you pulled early and nothing was on the line, so you just don't get anything. And then at the end of this condition, we break out the loop because we don't want to soft lock the player. And then here, this is what's going to be checking to see if the player waited too long and they lost the fish. So if fish count timer is greater than or equal to fish total time, then you lose the fish. And then, of course, once again, break the loop. And then the code here, this is just to give the player the fish. Game party.gain item, data item, game variable, value of 1. Which remember, up before in here, we set that variable right here equal to 6, 7, and 8 to correlate with where the fish is in the database. Go back here. And this code down here will be for another tutorial. This one's going to be a little bit long, so I will add more to this later. But for now, let's just focus on the minigame itself. So don't worry too much about this right here. This will be for another day. So all you need to be focused on is just this, which is just giving the player the fish that they collected. Okay, and then we're gonna do okay. And let me show you again. Let's do it a couple of times. And I'm also going to turn down the sound effects. Good old RPG Maker and how it just makes everything so much more louder than it needs to be. Always catches me off guard. Gonna adjust these real quick. And of course, you can make the sound effects to be whatever you want. You know. Okay. So let's do it again. But this time I'm gonna let the fish get away. So catch time is 44, total time is 134. So you have 134 frames before the fish gets away, but the fish is not gonna bite until the 44th frame. So we're just gonna wait and just let it get away. Yep, and then it says it got away, and it just goes away. We're gonna do it again. We're gonna pull up earlier. Nothing was on the line. And of course, you can add way more to this. Like, for example, if you want to add a little bit of a little bit more creativity or variety to it. This is gonna be an empty item right now, but you can even say maybe the player needs bait to fish. So if you have, you can just do a conditional branch here and just check to see if the player has, you know, in 13, let's just say this is what the bait is. you know, you can make it to have it to where if the player has bait, then they can use the bait, and then of course, if they use the bait, then make sure you remove the bait from their inventory, saying that they used it. You can also even add into the code to make it to where the bait is not lost if they pulled early, but if they pull late, then the bait is lost, right? The fish ate the bait, opposed to you just pulled it out the water. If you wanted to, it's up to how you want to establish it. And then else you would put, like, you know, you have no bait. There you go. So that's a little bit extra thing you can do. You can also even include things like the player has to have a fishing rod. They have to go purchase a fishing rod. But I'm gonna, this video is gonna be a little bit, well, I wanted to keep it fairly short. There's way more stuff that we can do with this, but we're just gonna keep it to this for now. Yeah, I'll show you guys some more cool fishing stuff at another day and time. But that's all I have for today, just to keep it simple. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, make sure to leave a comment below. And if you feel there's a easier way or a better way to code this or do it, also let me know. I am not a professional coder in the slightest. I just know what I know. So if anyone else has any other ideas, stuff like that, let me know. And if there's anything else you want me to talk about, also tell me there too. But yeah, until next week, y'all have a good one. Bye.